Hello, everyone, and welcome to this meeting of the South Kingstown Town Council. It is Monday, September 23rd. The time is 7:30. Our first order of business is the pledge to the flag. Please rise and join us. Thank you. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Council President Collins.
Here.
Council Vice President DeCruz.
Here.
Councilwoman Kelso.
Here.
Councilman McAtee.
Here.
Councilman Veely.
Here.
All members present.
Item 4 is the approval of minutes of previous meetings.
Motion to approve 4A, B, and C. Second.
So moved. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. Item 5 is the consent agenda.
Make a motion that we approve item number 5, the consent agenda.
Do I hear?
Second.
Here's a second.
Need to recuse, Mr. President. I have an involvement with one of the companies on the agenda.
All right. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. All in favor say aye.
Aye. And
so by a vote of 4-0 with one recusal, that motion passes. Item 6 is licenses. 6A is a resolution granting an application for a miscellaneous peddler's license to Calf Bar of Main Street in Wakefield. Application by Elias Boutros, co-owner, 654 Waits Corner Road in West Kingston. There he is. Good evening. Tell us about what you're hoping to do.
Oh, well, it's pretty simple. I serve cold brew and nitro cold brew in my business. I'm looking to just have a cart with a tap system that would be serving these cold drinks, just those two items, and using it at different fairs, events, farms, that run different events throughout the summer, and pretty much a summer thing more than anything else. Nobody really wants to drink cold coffee in the winter, but I think it'd be just another way for us to put our brand out there and our name.
Very good. Any questions?
Are you still using Down East coffee?
I am, proudly.
Previously in the past, when we had someone apply for a peddler's license, one of the conditions was that they kept moving. And I don't know from that description if that fits, but...
Isn't the state coming, have they implemented the new rules, Mike? Okay.
So the state has implemented new rules, and the rules are effective statewide with a sort of caveat in that the state has given municipalities until January to implement their own rules. Those rules are currently being developed here in South Kingstown. The planning board talked about the zoning aspect of those new rules at their last work session, and I know that the solicitor's office has been working on the ordinance part of those new rules diligently for a while now. We expect to be able to come to the council for a whole new set of rules in December. Since we're in this sort of gray area, a license that was issued today would fall under the state rule. There'd be no local rules. We'd have to notify folks of the new rules in December.
I just want to be sure that the license fits his purpose and that it will work for him.
Again, it's really hard to know without that new ordinance in place. My suggestion would be that if this is something that you're going to be making use of between now and the new year, it probably makes sense. You're probably good with this.
Right, all of them expire December 1st, so you're going to have the new ordinance, so this is really for the next couple of months.
Yeah, I won't be using it anytime this year. This is just for next year. I did meet with the sergeant at South Kingstown Police Department, and he went over a lot of the rules and regulations, and that it would be looked at again and changed and revised, all the rules. But again, I'm not looking to use it as a peddler on a sidewalk. From my understanding, it's supposed to be on a commercial property, which I will only be using it for that purpose of different fairs, events, festivals.
So you would like to be able to use this for the fall season?
No, I just wanted to basically, put in my application. I wasn't aware that it was going to expire at the end of the year, but it's not an issue. I can reapply again next year and go from there.
The question really becomes, is it worth the filing fee? I mean, it's sort of the question.
Yeah, it would be a renewal in December. It would be a renewal in December under the new rules. So since he went through this process and that's what's in place now, my recommendation would be to approve it. It's only till December 1 anyhow. Then when the renewal comes up, all of the new rules will be in place.
And the cost of the license is nominal, correct?
Yeah.
Dale?
I don't recall what it was, but it wasn't much.
$50.
And you've already
On
paid
the
it.
off chance the festival comes up in the next 3 months that you want to appear at,
I won't be doing it. I won't
I'd be apt to grant it and then let you come back for a
Okay.
renewal in December.
All right.
I'll make a motion to approve 7A.
Second.
I'm sorry,
6A.
6A.
Oh, that's 6A. I'll second 6A.
Thank you.
So moved. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. 6B is a resolution granting a Class F 19-hour beverage license to the Wakefield Village Association for the Oktoberfest event to be held on Saturday, October 5th, from 12 p.m. to 11 p.m. in the parking lot at 323 Main Street. Application by Ken Tetzner.
Hello.
Hello and welcome back.
Ken Tetzner, President of the Wakefield Village Association. So it's October again. We're doing our Oktoberfest. It's one of the biggest events we have downtown. This year we always like to up it, so we kind of beat the year before as far as entertainment. So I always enjoy giving you the brief rundown of what we got going on. We have cage fighting no, I'm just kidding. We have a Main Street stage, and that's set up at the old bank where there's all local musicians. So we have like little shows all day during the day, and then also in the street, we shut down the street. We have vendors. We have about 50 to 60 pop-up tents. Some of the local businesses also set up tents on the street and conduct business that day, as well as their store, which is nice. Then we also have the beer garden stage inside, and that focuses more on the German aspect of the Oktoberfest, even though we really went outside the box this year, but probably going to read this wrong, even though I am German, but the Hofbräu Band. That's a thing. We do tapping of the kegs just like they do in Munich, so we have that little parade where we carry around that lucky volunteer, and we do a tapping of the keg like traditionally, just like they do in Munich. We also have the Applebaum Shoe Platter Dancers. That, I think, says it all. I don't really have to explain that. We thought we'd go a little cultural this year. We actually brought in 15 to 20 Irish dancers. We're trying to hit on everything. We have the Sanderson Sisters, which I believe we're kind of going towards the Halloween theme as well. Is those three witches. I think it's not Bette Midler, though. Bette Midler will not be here, but she did play it in the movie. As far as our headlines, as our big bands, obviously Take It to the Bridge. We bring them back every year. They really rock the house. We have a blast with them. Everybody has fun. We also have Gumption and Glory, Tropicals, Gary Hop and the Good Vibe Tribe. We brought back the Moontime Aerial Artists, if you haven't seen that. We have Fire Dancers. It's pretty interesting. As far as kids throughout the day, we also team up with the Parks and Rec Department, and they take over the field over by Wakefield School. So we do Ninja Warrior obstacle course. The town puts that on. They're doing pumpkin carving and painting for the kids. And then a bunch of lawn games, hula hoop, frisbee, cornhole. The Union Fire District will be there with the safety trailer. We're also in the back Bell parking lot. We're doing Touch a Truck with Union Fire District. They're bringing down all the fire trucks. We also have Catboy, and that's very important to have Catboy at your events. I have no idea what that is. Sly the Fox, New England Revolution, Rhodey Ram, the Great Baldini. He's a musician we've used before. He really is a big hit with the kids. We also have the Princesses, Bella and Moana. That's early in the day, right when we open at 12. That's a huge draw for the kids. The kids love that. We have the Rhode Island Bucket Drummers. We also touched base with Project 401. They're a breakdancing group. They're going to be on the beer garden stage. That's pretty exciting. And we also, get ready for this, the roller derby girls. We're bringing roller derby downtown because every Oktoberfest needs roller derby.
Are they actually going to be roller derbying, or how do you say it? What is that? Like,
I think that's right. Roller derbying?
yeah, okay.
Yeah, that sounds right. Kind of, not to the extent that you think. It's not going to be.
Asking because I've seen that live before, and they're
Have ya?
dangerous.
I have not seen it, but I heard it's quite the thing. I did meet them though, and they are willing to arm wrestle. Anybody that wants to arm wrestle for a beer, so we got that going. We have some other talent. I didn't list everything, but obviously throughout the day we do a ton of entertainment. It's 12 to 11 o'clock. Music stops at 11. We actually met with the local police department. Through their request, we added a couple of more details throughout the night. So in the beer garden itself, inside, we'll have 2 police officers, 6 to 11. We'll also have, we talked to the EMS. They're going to have people there throughout the day, and they'll have a pop-up tent where they're going to teach people how to do CPR.
Are you still looking for volunteers?
Absolutely. Because this event goes all day from 12 to 11, Endless Summer started at 4, we didn't need as many, but we need 30 to 40 volunteers just to put this on. So if anybody wants to participate, we'd love to have you.
It's the best way to reach out through the Facebook page.
Yeah, you could just write through the Facebook page, send a message. I can send you guys messages as well and emails, see if anybody's interested, and you can kind of let me know what time and people are signing up. So that would be much appreciated.
And I think you're still looking for sponsors, or you're all set?
We could always use a few more sponsors. This event gets bigger and bigger every year. We're actually, we just put something together. We're going to go on the road show, so that's kind of nice, on Monday the 30th. So, that brings a lot of attention to the town as well. It's kind of why we started this whole thing, is that the Wakefield Village Association was to really market downtown and bring a lot of people as far as community downtown, show them a good time, show them that South Kingstown knows what's up. So,
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve item 6B.
Second. So moved. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That
Thank you.
motion carries.
Appreciate it.
It's going to be awesome. All right. And that brings us to item 7, communications. 7A is an email dated September 4th, 2019 from Angela Tuoni, requesting the council to review proposed changes to the charge and membership of the Sustainability Committee. It's been received and placed on file. I believe Hannah Marini is here to discuss this communication.
I'm Hannah from the Sustainability Committee. We've been, I think, in existence for just about 2 years. Through that time, we've done some of our own work, but we've also we've done a lot of work to try to figure out kind of where we're needed, both in terms of other committees that are in the town. There is some overlap, but also in terms of what needs to be done and what our skills as a group are. And so we've actually had 2 public forums, well attended. We had a lot of great suggestions, and so we spent a lot of time trying to kind of categorize these different suggestions. And if you remember, our original charge was very heavily focused on energy, renewable energy, efficiency, but sustainability, it's one of those kind of, it could be a buzzword. It means so many things. It touches on a lot of different areas. So the different categories that we saw were really waste, water, and energy. So we took that and we actually redrafted a new charge based on those 3 main elements. And with that, because it's expanding the potential workload, potential projects that we could be involved with, we are requesting 2 additional members. The 5 members that we have right now work very well together. We have all different brains around the table, which is it's helpful. We learn a lot from each other. But having 2 more would allow us to definitely get more work done. We have a lot of ideas about projects, but we also have been, we have other work coming at us. So we're able to we're able to be proactive and reactive, and we think that we'd be able to do that better with 2 additional members.
All right, any questions?
Are the 2 additional members you're looking to add, are you requiring specific skill sets to fill gaps, or did the application stress a certain area?
That's a great question. It's definitely something that we should think about. We haven't really gotten there yet. I also don't know what goes into selecting. I'm not sure if we would get applications and then figure out what skills, or if that's something that we would advertise. I've never quite been in this position before, so we're certainly open to suggestions on process.
So I've attended several of the meetings where the committee talked about the new work that they'd like to take on. They have identified skill sets in the course of those conversations that they thought would be helpful. I think the word technology geek may have come up once or twice. They're looking for somebody with some technical skills. And they'd like to have somebody who has sort of a broad ecology background and focus. But these are appointments by the council. They haven't made those specific requests or recommendations. It has been the subject of discussion, but there's no specific recommendation from the committee.
My only question actually is to Rob. Rob, we've added committees or commissions or committees the last 4 or 5 years, and there was a question for a while about having enough staff to.
Yeah, it's a challenge. I don't think that adding 2 more members to this committee creates a big increase in the workload. We do have, as I counted this afternoon for some reason, we have something like 22 committees now. Here, 23, I'm being told. 143 members. Yeah. It's a big chunk of the way work gets done around Town Hall in South Kingstown. It's a big deal. It's actually one of the things that I think makes a community stronger, because we have so much community input. We have so many, 143 perspectives from the community working their way into the work products. And again, as I described during the work session, part of what we're trying to do is to align their work with the recommendations and the resolutions, such as this one and the next one, that come to the council. I see this as sort of a channel through which work product comes. And frankly, I've been impressed with the sustainability committee's desire to sort of focus on projects and output. So I don't think that 2 more to this committee is going to cause.
Right, or the increase of their charge.
I don't see the increase of their charge creating additional work for staff. Your point is absolutely correct, though. It is a challenge, and, you know, at some point, well, I will say this. At this point, we're trying to ask the committees to sort of take on more of the lift themselves. So,
Thank you.
Very good. Any other questions in the council? So we've been presented a resolution with this communication. Do I hear a motion on the resolution?
I'll make a motion that we approve resolution contained in item 7A.
Second.
So moved. Any further discussion?
No.
As the guy who wrote the previous charge, I apologize for its deficiencies. And I think this is great to see the committee taking such an active role in its own future. All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And that motion carries. And yeah, don't go far, because 7B is also an email dated September 4th, 2019, from Angela Twoney on behalf of the Sustainability Committee, requesting adoption of resolution authorizing the town to establish a community choice aggregation program. It's been received and placed on file. We heard a little bit about this in the work session, but I'll leave it to you two to present again.
Sure. So I wanted to start with a little bit of a background into what we're talking about and why it's important. I'll be brief, but I think it's crucial. So all of our electric bills have two different sides, right? There's the delivery side and there's the supply side. And since the 90s, the whole Northeast, they call it deregulation. They're still heavily regulated utilities, but deregulation, which allowed the supply side to be competitive. So, for instance, most municipalities and large users of electricity, they have someone else besides National Grid where they buy their electric supply from. You're able to lock into contracts for longer. You really have more control over how and when you buy electricity, and they save a lot of money that way. One of the challenges has been that the buying supply that way works in part because of the volume associated with it. So even though it's allowed for residential purposes and for really small organizations, there hasn't really been a great business model to do that. We've all gotten the mailers from, was it North American Power a couple years ago, and if you read the fine print, it says, we'll save you we guarantee we'll save you % for the first couple of months, and then, you know, you're on your own sort of thing. There really haven't been a lot of opportunities for those smaller buyers. So in the fall of 2017, there was an update in the municipal aggregation legislation, which basically lets towns get together and buy electricity this way, again, to pump up the volume there. Not a reference to Jock Jams, but they updated that bill to allow towns to enter into competitive contracts on behalf of residential and it could be some small businesses as well. I think it depends on the usage. So the benefit of this is that because it's everyone in the town, it actually creates that volume, so you can get really good supply side prices like all of the other big users have. But there is an opt-out provision that's actually required in the legislation. So if someone says, this is not for me, I don't have time for this, I don't want to deal with it, you don't need a lot of time for it. But if someone just doesn't, they like the status quo, they like their only option being National Grid every single month forever, they can opt out. So it creates the volume for us to get better prices, but it also creates the opportunity. It does not require anyone to do anything. There's no penalties if they don't want to participate. So we're getting to the point now, we're at the point where there's actually a good business model, and there are vendors that associated with entering into this type of contract. The product is finally there. I've been in renewable energy for 10 years, and this is something that comes up all the time. Well, why can't I have that opportunity? Why is there only other groups that have this? And it's just, it was the only way that made economic sense before. So the green municipal aggregation, which is what we're proposing a resolution on today, takes this product one small step further in that there's an opportunity to add a modest amount of renewable energy to the supply that we would contract for. And we did talk with the consultant who has done these types of projects throughout Massachusetts and multiple communities there, and a local nonprofit. It used to be People's Power and Light. It's now Green Energy Consumers Alliance. And they showed us a bunch of different case studies. And in instances where they only added 5% of renewable energy to the amount that suppliers are already required to provide under our portfolio standard, every example they showed us, everyone saved money. So it's an opportunity for competitive supply and a slight increase in renewable energy above the requirement. So some benefits to this is that there's, communities can actually choose their power supplier now, instead of just going with the legal monopoly of National Grid. There's consumer protection, because people can opt out very, very easily. And this whole thing is regulated. It was legislated, and it's also regulated now by the Public Utilities Commission. People will save money. It offers competitive rates when compared to National Grid, and we're able to up our renewable energy involvement. I actually was a member of People's Power and Light for a long time, and it was just buying renewable energy certificates. So if you didn't have a good roof for solar, or your yard was shady, if you rented an apartment, you didn't have the ability to say, hey, I want more renewable energy. So you could sign up for People's Power and Light. It was on bill, but it was always an increase. You had to pay more for renewable energy. This is similar in the sense that this portfolio includes the renewable energy certificates, but it's actually saving everyone money. So you don't have to just be really into renewable energy and into the environment to think this is a good idea, like you did in order to voluntarily pay more for renewable energy credits a few years ago. So we've come a long way, and there's a few communities that have adopted this. Providence adopted their resolution on September 5th. And the resolution is really just to start talking about it in a serious fashion. We're not necessarily obligating anyone to anything yet, but it's to allow us to start talking about it, and to allow the town manager to work on this. And it's something that we know that there are a couple of vendors who have been proactive in reaching out, but in renewable energy, what I always tell people who say, hey, I got a call from someone who wants to put solar on my roof, the person who's reaching out to you directly there's a good chance they're counting on you not to do your homework, so it always makes sense to go out to bid, or, in the case of a private citizen, at least get a few bids. So we would definitely like to do that and see what options are out there to enter into this type of agreement. What did I miss?
Not much, although one thing that I think is important to recognize is that it's not just the size of the purchasing power that this allows, it's also the flexibility that comes with municipal aggregation. Utility companies like National Grid are actually restricted as to when they can go out to market. The day on which they're going to go to market to buy a chunk of electricity for a period of time is known by the marketplace. They tend to pay high prices on the days when they go to market because everybody knows they're going to market on that day. Municipalities aren't restricted. We can buy on any day of the year. So because you can buy at any time during the year, you can look for the market. And this is what the folks who are in this space do. They work with municipalities. They develop a portfolio that says, okay, you want a little bit of green. We'll make sure that we have that in the mix. But you want this is your target for savings, so we're going to look for a mix that has a little green and this kind of savings. And then they go out and they monitor the electricity market, the production, the source market, and they buy when they think they're going to hit those targets. There's a lot of flexibility that also comes into play here. We save, all of the participants in the program save because we have flexibility and we have more power as a large block of purchasers. This program has been around for many, many years as municipalities working together. It's recent that municipalities, particularly in Rhode Island, although it's not that recent in California and Massachusetts, in Rhode Island it's recent that municipalities can bring other non-municipal, non-governmental consumers into the mix. It's an interesting program. It's one that looks very, very positive. What this resolution would do is authorize the manager, and I'd work very closely, obviously, with the Sustainability Committee to go out and solicit an RFP, put an RFP out to see if we can get a consultant in here. Most of the consultants who work in this space, my understanding is, work on a percentage over the life of the 3 or the 5 year contract that they ultimately negotiate with the suppliers. So you're not paying up front, you're paying for it, much like the pay on bill program that we're going to talk about later tonight.
So you answered one question. I have another question, though. If you have a user who is in an agreement now, what happens to them?
If they're in an agreement now, then they're automatically not part of the aggregated group. If they're not in an agreement now, they're automatically in the aggregated group, but can, at their option, get out of being in that aggregate group.
So then I just have a comment. I'm opposed usually to a program that automatically puts you in, because a lot of people are going to be put in it that don't know it. I'd prefer the opt-in option, but having said that, I can't really see anybody being opposed to saving money, and it looks like there's no downside.
I would, I guess my opinion on it is that I support looking into this program. From a personal experience, I've dealt with 2 different companies, one of them that you mentioned in the past.
Yep.
And then also a private consultant in the area. And I'm back with National Grid because it got pretty confusing.
Right.
You know, not sure if I'm actually saving money sometimes. So what I would say is that if we look into this, we need to proceed with caution.
Yes. So the legislation is very clear. To answer your question or your comment, it's very clear that it needs to be really easy to opt out, and there can be no penalties or charges whatsoever associated with it. The only reason that it's opt out instead of opt in is to get to that volume.
Volume that
Yeah,
saves the money.
that's it.
I get it.
And so, and the other thing about it that's great from a choice perspective is that if you do opt out, you can opt out to whatever other competitive supplier you want. You don't have to use the default group that the town picks, or you can just go back to National Grid. These programs are they're designed to not be confusing, and I'm very familiar with the other products. I've looked at the different arrangements for myself, but I also review other things that people bring to me just out of curiosity. Hey, can I get your thoughts on this? What does this mean for me? It's designed to be much better than that. And the great thing that Rob brought up is that this product has been, even though it's new in Rhode Island, it's already been tailored in other places to function well. So I'm definitely, I always have a healthy level of skepticism. I think that's when you ask the best questions and you end up getting the best deal when you're critiquing things. So we're not signing up for anything yet. It's just this appears to be a very good opportunity for anyone who pays electricity, pays their electricity bills, and for renewable energy as well.
So my concern is with the phrase "develop and implement a plan." So I think it's implement that's bothering me a little bit right now without knowing the actual procedure. How are we going to notify residents? Whose job is that? What is the process for opting out? I think a lot of people are very confused about energy and don't understand that there's a supply side and a delivery side, right?
Right.
I'm very concerned about develop and implement. So if you can clarify for me what that actually means. Does it mean that in a month or 5 months from now we're going to be in this without any further discussion, or what does that mean?
So, if I may, Hannah?
Sure, yes.
The committee had sort of lifted Providence's resolution as their beginning, and the Providence drafting committee had drafted their resolution giving the mayor the authority outlined here. I think implement is a concept that committee wanted to make sure the mayor could move on. I'm not sure that in our case it accurately reflects what the Sustainability Committee has talked about. They've talked about developing the plan and coming back to the council with the plan. I don't think anyone on the committee would be at all surprised if you were to strike that word.
I'm much more comfortable striking implement from this resolution. Develop, yes. Implement, not until I see it.
That's very fair and reasonable. The other thing that I liked about this, I think, takes a lot of the potential confusion out of this, is that you're still only going to get one bill. It's an on bill, so it will show up, whoever we buy power from, it will show up in the supply side of your bill. So it's not some other paper someone's going to have to deal with and wonder what it is and how it relates. It's on the same bill. So I think
you
that
understand my concern of who's going to address those concerns in the community. I understand it, but I'm sure there are many, many people out there who will think, what? You know, they will not understand that. My concern is who's going to be in charge of the communications.
Very good point. So that's something that we should definitely discuss that.
To be honest with you, again, I think that the committee's intent here is perfectly clear. They intend to come back to the council with a plan. It is clearly not the expressed opinions of the members of the committee, and you can correct me, but I didn't hear anybody say we want to, give Rob authority and let him run.
Right.
We want to develop the plan, Rob, then we want to go to the council and talk to them about how this is going to work here in South Kingstown and get, a program that works locally. And in fact, Hannah said it here tonight. We're not going to jump in. We're not signing anybody up.
Right.
This is the beginning. And I think that you're just looking at a word that was left over from, a
Right, but there's also the clause that says we're authorizing the town manager to enter into contracts. If that's just with a consultant.
That's correct.
Okay.
That we
I'm
do
all right
have to
with
do
that,
at this
but-
point.
Okay.
So that's something that we can talk about too. I mean, we would be hiring a professional with experience. So if that's something that they would like to offer as part of their services, that's something that we can, as the point of contact, that's something that we can certainly discuss. So, I definitely appreciate your concerns, and it's certainly not our intent to go act. It's our intent to create a plan, come back to you, and answer questions.
So one, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Then I think the resolution has a couple of clauses that need to be amended or stricken.
Let's make note of that. So we have in the first, therefore, clause / and implement. And then in the third one as well, be it further resolved and implement.
That clause bothers me, Abel.
Given the ability to enter into a contract, right, we're going to need to be specific.
With,
Goes on to talk about purchasing in the aggregation plan and joining other municipalities. I'm concerned about that clause at this point, that we're authorizing that tonight. I'd really like just to see we authorize the consultant.
the town authorizes the town manager to...
If I can help, I'm thinking, keep the first whereas clause without the word implement. That's extremely broad, and I think you can just strike the final three. Because Rob's going to have to come back to you with a contract anyhow. The manager doesn't have the ability to just enter into contracts. So the first therefore clause, I think, does it, authorizes the manager to develop a plan to aggregate the retail electric loads in accordance with the act. And he's going to come back to you and say, as part of this, we ought to hire a consultant, and here's our RFP, this is what we have, and just strike the last three clauses.
Were you saying just strike the other clauses?
I would just strike the last three. The last three further resolved. The first one is the one that really gives him the authority, unless you disagree.
Is it the 4?
Take out implement, and then now in that second, be it further resolved, what are we doing with that paragraph?
So strike the 3 after the first whereas. So it's the now therefore be it resolved remains intact, strike implement and implement.
Right.
And strike the next be it further resolved paragraphs in their entirety is what Mike suggested.
So yeah, just one, therefore be it resolved.
Strike 4. So
Okay,
I think that can work so long as the council knows that what we're intending to do is put an RFP out on the street looking for a consultant. When we get consultants who submit their credentials, we'll be coming back and saying, these are the guys who've responded to the RFP. So long as everyone understands that that the development of this plan isn't my office developing a plan, it's my office doing an RFP to go get somebody to help us to develop a plan.
So I just have one clarifying question on that. The consultant that we're looking for through the RFP, they're the ones that are going to help the town go out to bid for electricity, or do they already have relationships with suppliers at that point?
So the way that the consultancies in this space work, as I understand it, and we'll find out more as we get into an RFP process, but as I understand it, the folks who design programs are designing programs with an eye toward being the, for want of a better word right now, the broker who's also negotiating the contracts with the suppliers.
Okay.
So we will go out with a request for proposals. We will say we're looking for someone to help us design and implement, or a word akin to that, because that's how they get paid. They get paid by developing a program that has a suite of the portfolio elements to it. They come back with projected savings. We think we can do this for you, given the market as we understand it. And then they go out on your behalf and look for the suppliers
Right, so
to meet that program.
how do you determine who to award the bid to, I guess, in my mind, because you have two sides of that. You have the,
So my simple sort of assumption here is we'll go out into the marketplace and describe what we're looking for, a consultant who will develop a plan that results in some percentage of green, some percentage of savings off of the typical bill. We'll have to provide them with some data on what our current bills and rates are, and we'll see who responds. If we get multiple respondents to that request for proposals, then we'll know that we've got a competitive environment where we're getting a good offer. Otherwise, what you end up with is a limited offer that has a company that says, we can do this, and this is our proposed rate, and we're going to have to decide whether or not there's enough there for us to take action on. There may or may not be, depending on what we see in response to that request for proposals.
Just, so, just going back to the technicalities here, we're striking the final 4 clauses. Do you need any additional language in the first clause, do you feel like? Or is that sufficient to go out with an RFP? I mean, I think to develop an,
I would leave the fourth whereas, or be it further resolved, just because that is the reporting requirement that, we've been.
okay,
talking
yeah, so the middle 3 there,
the middle
then strike 3,
And we'd also strike implementation again from that.
from the first one, yeah.
In the fourth and the fifth one.
Okay, so the last one.
Is there,
Be back in without.
And implement.
We got it.
well, I mean, it says they're coming to us with implementation. I don't think it needs to be.
Taking out and implementation.
And do we need to keep the third,
I-
be it further resolved?
I-
Because that speaks to the consultant.
But he can't engage.
Okay.
But I am convinced this is broad enough to allow him to go out with an RFP, because he goes out for RFPs with a whole lot of things, and then they come back to you as business items. So it'll be the same process.
All right, thank you.
I don't know if we need to strike implementation from the last clause. I would actually like to know what the plans are for implementation when you come back to us. So that's not speaking to you implementing it, it's speaking to you informing us about the implementation.
The development.
So can we keep that one in there? All right. So we have a reworked resolution here. Do I hear more discussion? All right. Do I hear a motion?
I will make that motion that we approve the resolution with the amendments we've just made. And I guess that's it. That's all I need, right?
And I think Dale has it.
Okay.
It's 3, we're eliminating the 3 middle resolutions, and we are including the last one, and we're simply striking implementation from the first resolution.
And implement, yes, from the
That's
first.
item 7B.
I'll second that.
So moved. Further discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. Good luck. All right. 7C is a letter dated August 31st, 2019, from William Bailey, objecting to the town's tax exemption policies for disabled veterans and the elderly. It's been received and placed on file. Is anybody here to speak to this matter? All right. I believe Mr. Bailey has sent similar notes to us in the past. Do we want to, well, what do we want to do with it, I suppose?
I'll make a motion to place 7C on file.
I would add to respond to Mr. Bailey with a letter. Okay.
Second that.
So moved. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
7G is an email dated September 17th, 2019, from Kathleen Mignanelli, coordinator of the Energy Facility Siting Board, providing notice of a public hearing relative to energy storage resources, proposed location of the 180 megawatt Narragansett Energy Storage System in the town of South Kingstown. It's been received and placed on file. We talked about it a bit in the work session. Tell us.
Yeah, if the council wants to refer this to my office, I'm going to coordinate with John Schock, Department of Public Services, and the Planning Department.
I mean, the goal is to have some say about where and how, potentially.
Based
And
on our
what?
preliminary discussions of what's going on here, the staff recommendation is that we simply let the state know that we have an interest and that we want an opportunity to participate.
All right.
I'll make a motion that we refer this communication to the town manager's office.
So moved. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And that motion carries. K is a letter dated September 12th, 2019, from Megan Smith, facilitator of the Rhode Island Homeless Bill of Rights Defense Committee, expressing concerns with provisions of town ordinances that are most likely to impact homeless persons. We've received that, placed it on file, and what more would we like to do with it? Is there anybody from the ACLU or from the Homeless Bill of Rights Defense Committee here to speak on this?
No, I don't believe so. I'd like to make a motion to direct item K to the town manager's office to work with the police department to come up and look at the ordinances and report back to the council.
We will, of course, coordinate with the solicitor's office as well.
Thank you.
Second.
So moved. Any further discussion on this item? All right, very good. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And that motion carries. And L is a letter dated September 10th, 2019, from Richard Jerzak, Chairman of the Zoning Board of Review, requesting review of the zoning ordinance, Coastal Community Overlay District, Section 608.9, General Standards for Changes to Coastal Community Structures. We've received that, placed it on file, and what more will we do with it?
I'll make a motion to refer, place it on file and refer this communication to the planning board to review and propose an amendment to clarify.
Second.
So moved. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And that takes us to the end of communications and brings us to number 8, which is comments from interested citizens. If you have something you'd like to share, please come to the podium, state your name, and let us know what it is.
Sorry I wasn't here. I would have taken my letter off the consent agenda. My name is Deb Bergner. I sent you an email about public participation. I've attended a couple of planning board meetings recently. They last a really long time, and that's obviously concerning. So while that happened, I think I wanted to speak about why public participation is important. I think the agenda item on the last planning board work session had public participation, a discussion item, and I think it's really important and that it should be encouraged and not discouraged. And I think that we can do that with some effective and efficient strategies, and we would avoid a long line to the microphone with a lot of repeated comments if we took some actions, or the council took some actions to improve some of the ways that we communicate and reach the public. One is we really need to live stream more meetings so that the public can see what's happening in government. This meeting and the planning board are the few that actually are visible to the public if you don't show up here. I also think meeting minutes need to go a little bit more in depth. It's, I know what the law requires, but meeting what the law requires should be the floor, not the ceiling of what we do in South Kingstown. Meeting minutes, agendas, more accessible. It's really a tricky website to navigate. If you've ever tried to get the agenda and to copy that link or to find it, it's a challenge. I also think we need to use technology in a better way so that the public can be engaged. And by creating all of those ways, you may avoid some of those long meetings that are happening, but that's not to say that there isn't a reason for the long meetings, because obviously we're an engaged community and we care about what's happening. I was at the work session for the public policy, and I understand that the timelines have changed, and so everything is happening quicker. There's a shorter clock from the time that the application is complete forward, but we're still doing business the same way. So maybe we need to have more board meetings, not less, and we need to change that operational model, because if the timelines are crunched, we can't just have one meeting a month or 2 meetings a month to address some of these really important projects. So I'm bringing it to your attention so you understand that the public is very engaged and very concerned. The one that we were here till midnight, I was shocked at 4 hours in. People left unsure of why they couldn't speak. I know why they couldn't speak, but that wasn't clear to this room was standing room only that time. So it's concerning that the reaction is to change how the public participates and not to change the model of how we engage the public. So I wanted to give an example. About 10 years ago, the orange signs came up for planning and development, and that is a great visual cue for people in the community to know that something is going to be developed somewhere. So thinking of other ways that we can inform the public so then they can come in, ask questions, and do with it what they want. But I provided in my letter a number of ways that the town can be more responsive to the public and maybe prevent the angst, the stressors, the people sitting here for 4 hours. If we were watching at home, we could be at home doing it. So I implore you to look at some of those strategies. I know the board is a volunteer board and that they're giving up a lot of their time, but ultimately it's the work of the community that needs to get done in a way that the community feels good about it. So I just bring all that up to your attention.
Thank you.
No?
Looking, normally we don't ask questions unless we have questions. Is that what?
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
Any other public comments tonight? Comments from the council?
So many of us participated in the annual Firefighters Memorial Parade yesterday, and it was another lovely event. It was a pleasure to be there. Thank you again to all the firefighters in town. And once again, we need to reiterate how important volunteering is. The fire districts, both the Union Fire District and Kingston, could use volunteers. And if you're so inclined, please reach out. They could use your help. We all could use your help. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, thank you. Rob, take it away.
I'll try to make this quick. Eastern equine encephalitis has come to Rhode Island and southern New England. We have instituted smart scheduling, children's events through the Recreation Department. Young people, non-adults, are being scheduled so that no one is out there, none of the kids are out there after dark. The state of Rhode Island has tentatively scheduled an aerial spray for the southwestern corner of South Kingstown for this week. It was going to be tonight. They canceled tonight. We'll find out more about that planned aerial spray tomorrow in a phone call with the state. But it does look like a portion of South Kingstown will see some aerial spraying in order to control mosquitoes.
Rob, I have a quick question regarding that. Somebody asked me a question that I couldn't answer. I said I would look into it. They would like to know what they're using as the spray chemical, I guess, or...
So I can provide that information to the council. I'd butcher any of the names that I tried to.
Great. So if you can do that, that'd be great.
We'll make sure you get that. In our significant challenges, planning staff, as the council knows, we're operating with one fewer planner now than we have had. I said I'd monitor this closely. I'd be watching and talking to the planning staff to make sure that if it became a stress down there, I'd change our strategy quickly. Originally, our strategy had been to go 3 months with the principal planner as the interim, give her an opportunity to try the role on and to see whether or not it was a position she thought she'd be comfortable with and whether she'd excel at. I will say that Kayla Gray has been phenomenal over the last few months. She's just been incredible. Leaves no doubt in my mind that she has the ability, but we also have another planner in the department who is capable, and we had said that we'd give him the opportunity to serve as interim director. I don't think that we're going to be able to hold out for 6 months, but I do think that we can switch to Jay serving as the interim director when Kayla's 3-month period is up on October 4th. What I intend to do at this point is to advertise the position within the next week or two. Jay will be serving in the interim position until we've made it through the hiring process. But I think that, I think Kayla has been phenomenal. I have no doubt in my mind that she is capable. I do think that we're not going to be able to keep doing this for 6 months, so it's time for us to start looking to fill the director's position, so if there's any backfilling of other positions, we can do that as well. The town radio program design has suggested higher costs than we've anticipated. This is going to be a tough problem. We had sort of looked at about $1 million cost for a radio program that would serve the Union Fire District, the town departments that use radio communications, the police department being the largest of those, and the Kingston Fire District. It's a great project. It's a great program if we can get this thing off the ground, but the $1 million price tag is right now looking more like $3 million. It's not a clear, straight path. It is going to be a difficult thing for us to figure out. We're working on it.
What's the significant jump, I guess, in estimates?
So we don't know for sure because the consultant, after a meeting last week, has gone back to sharpen their pencil and will report out tomorrow on the particulars once he's had a chance to sort of answer the questions that were posed to him at the last meeting. But the ballpark number has not changed since that meeting, I was told today. It's still $3 million, but he's going to provide line item level information in a conversation actually on Wednesday. So we don't know. I mean, it's not as simple as it's more radio towers. It isn't. It's not as simple as it's more radios. It's not. It's the design and the cost of construction and the cost of equipment being more than we had anticipated. One of the things that may contribute to that significantly, and again, I don't want to speculate too much, is there's more structures that probably need to be replaced at the base of the towers than we anticipated. So how much of that construction is driving the price increase, I can't tell right now. Streetlights, the issue continues. The Rhode Island Department of Transportation has not provided us with any clear direction. We are going ahead. John Schock is getting ready to begin working with Siemens and National Grid to just get the light bulbs changed out, even on the RIDOT-owned lights, and we will begin begin realizing the savings from that swap out. We're losing money by waiting at this point, so we're just going to go ahead. RIDOT should eventually figure out how to take control and ownership over their street lights. Even if they don't, we are saving because we're paying for them now. So we're just going to go ahead and get that done. The town farm property swap is getting closer to the point where we can submit to the National Park Service. We did have DEM do a preliminary review of the application that we had prepared. They were fine with the preliminary review. We were waiting, from my last report, on an appraisal for a property elsewhere in South Kingstown that would serve as the receiving property. I've been informed today that the hospital has engaged the appraisal company and that the appraiser should have a number by the end of this week. So we are getting closer on that. I will note, while I'm thinking about appraisals and town property, it's not a challenge or a problem for us, but we have negotiated leases at Marina Park, and we'll be coming to the council with those in the very near future. Items in the good news category.
Rob,
Yes.
sorry, going back to the appraisal of the property, how was the appraiser chosen?
The appraiser by the hospital for the property that will be a receiving property?
Correct.
I have no idea. It was the hospital's appraiser, and they selected that appraiser however their process dictates. It's an appraiser doing an appraisal for the hospital, not for the town.
So if we could decide to do our own appraisal potentially if we were far off? I'm assuming it's probably going to come in very close, but...
We could, and actually, I don't make that assumption at all at this point, to be honest with you, because the appraisal we received for the town farm property was $165,000, which is very low. So I'm not at all convinced that the receiving property will also have a low value. But I'm also not at all concerned about swapping a low-valued property for a higher valued.
Remind me, how big is that property at Town Farm?
Well, actually, the appraisal was for the entire, is it, John, 8 acres? Are you remembering the size of the town farm property, the total? Yeah, I think it's 8 acres.
You're saying it came back at what?
165.
That's crazy. Okay.
The current zoning restricts its use tremendously. Yeah. The assumptions that the appraiser made make a difference. I don't disagree with you.
Okay.
Over 430 people have completed actually, we're going to get to a better one. The home style survey. This is a survey of folks here in town to ask the question, what is it that you'd like to see in terms of residential development, the styles in particular. We're getting some pretty good data. One of the things that's embedded in this survey, and it's a pretty informal survey. It's not it's not designed as a scientific data gathering tool. It's really designed as a sort of engagement tool. But one of the questions embedded in there is about, or a series of questions, is about the accessory dwelling units. Have you built one? Have you contemplated building one? Why did you build it? Why haven't you built it? And we're getting some interesting data on that. And we're finding that, consistent with information from around the country, accessory dwelling units and multi-generational housing arrangements are very popular ideas. So I'm looking forward to seeing the final run of those data when we get that in the next 3 or 4 weeks. The comp plan is now live for public comment. The draft comprehensive plan went live this afternoon, and there is a 30-day public comment period that opened today. At the end of that 30-day public comment period, there will be a hearing before the planning board, and after the hearing before the planning board, there will be a recommendation to the town council, which will also have a public hearing associated with it.
And if someone wanted to comment, how would they do that?
They can comment by going online, reading it, and I believe at this point, I've looked at it myself, you'd have to send an email with comments. The Boys and Girls Club of Newport after-school program is now underway at the Guild. Not at the Curtis Corner this year, at the Guild. Some interesting statistics from the library for the month of August. Big takeaways. Books are still popular. 15,552 books still checked out. That's the largest format by far, still through our library system. And just a sort of strange data aberration, the Sunday 1,759 transactions may look strange to folks who know that the libraries are closed on Sundays. It's automatic renewals happen on Sunday. Those automatic renewals are also having an impact on revenue, which is not shown here. We will go to good news on revenue. The beach revenue is up significantly, up 12% this past summer over the previous summer. We took in $144,162 at the beach, and that now accounts for 77.9% of the budget, the revenued budget for the department. Of the revenue that they budgeted, it's 77.9%. And that's the report.
Thank you. All right, town solicitor's report.
So I'm coming up a little bit later in new business. If there are any questions on any item other than periwinkle, I can take those. Otherwise,
I just have one quick question, because it's been brought up before and someone brought it up today. Participation or communication of how public participates in meetings.
so
Is that something we can publish somewhere?
yeah. So just so you know, Amy Goins, my office, is working with planning on all of that, and yes, we will respond.
Thank you.
Very good. Okay, that brings us to item 11, which is appointments. We have a couple for you.
Make a resolution to appoint Kenneth Monroe to the Assessment Board of Review.
Second.
So moved. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye. A resolution to reappoint Jen Judge to the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee.
Second.
So moved. Any discussion? No. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Resolution to appoint Alex M. Petrucci to the Economic Development Committee.
I'll second.
So moved. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I'll make a resolution to appoint Leslie Chouinard to the Route 1 Stewardship Plan Development Committee.
Second.
So moved. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And then a resolution to appoint Samuel Grimley to the Waterfront Advisory Commission.
Second.
Oops.
So moved. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Could I add one thing just for a quick discussion? Does anyone on the council feel that maybe going into the future that when we have renewals, should we re-interview folks at all or have them fill out a questionnaire or something like that?
I think it's a worthy question, something we should explore, but perhaps we need a little more
Right.
structure around the exploration
Correct. Only because sometimes,
process, how that would happen.
depending on how long someone's been on the council, they may not have ever met that person or asked them a question.
Oh, quite frequently, yes. Yeah, something to think about, certainly. Another night, perhaps. Okay, that takes care of all the appointments. 11B is a resolution appointing Zachary Saul, Town Finance Director, to serve on the School Building Committee that will monitor the planning and construction activities associated with the South Kingstown School District's plan to make repairs, improvements, and renovations and/or constructions to school facilities, further described in a memo from the Director of Administrative Services to the Town Manager.
I'm going to need to recuse myself from this question.
Make a motion to approve the resolution in Agenda Item 11B.
Second.
So moved. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And that motion carries with a vote of 4-0 with one recusal. And that brings us to the end of appointments. Item 12 is new business. 12B is a resolution authorizing an award of bid to Superstructure Building Company of Waits Corner Road in West Kingston for improvements to the Adult Day Services Facility in accordance with all bid specifications in an amount not to exceed $70,254, further described in a memo from the Director of Leisure Services to the Town Manager. Do I hear?
Motion that we approve item 12B.
Second.
So moved. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. 12D is a resolution authorizing the town solicitor to execute the consent judgment on behalf of the town of South Kingstown and to further authorize the town manager to execute the settlement mutual release of claims in literal rights and restrictions agreement on behalf of the town of South Kingstown in the matter of Periwinkle Realty et al. Versus Karen Sue Inc. et al., as presented in a memo from the town solicitor to the town council presented September 23rd, 2019, and entitled Settlement of Periwinkle Realty LLC et al., yada, yada, and further described in a memo from the Leisure Services Director to the town manager dated September 16th, 2019, and entitled Waterfront Advisory Commission Periwinkle Realty LLC versus Karen Sue Inc. There we go.
Thank you. Yeah, it sounds complicated. It actually isn't all that. This lawsuit that's actually been around for the past 9 years, it was a settlement, recently came to light with the assistance of a mediator, Frank Williams, who interestingly used to be the town solicitor here in South Kingstown. The town really hasn't been involved with this over this period of time until the very end. I'll explain that. So what this is about, it's about adjusting the littoral boundaries that extend from Periwinkle Road. And littoral boundaries are the boundaries that go out into the water. And this involves a couple of parties that have marinas on either side of Periwinkle, and therefore those littoral boundaries would be affected. When Karen Sue Inc., which is the Roebuck family, wanted to make adjustments to their dock and marina area, they went to CRMC. That met with some opposition from neighbors, Periwinkle, Mazza Marina, et cetera, which led to the litigation. Well, I'm happy to say we're here this evening to report some good news about ending the litigation. With regard to the town of South Kingstown, it's going to result in a public access easement which actually has 4 specified parking spaces at the end of Periwinkle Road, which basically ends right at the water. So there's no real way for the public to get there or to park there. Now we will have that ability. They will be marked so that everyone knows where it is. People can bring their canoes, their kayaks, etc. So for the town, it's good. We do have a mooring that's in the vicinity, and so that the boat that's on that mooring doesn't interfere with anything or anyone. There's going to be a second mooring that'll be placed at the expense of the parties to this litigation, not at the expense of the town or the individual in the mooring. There'll be a second mooring just to keep the boat from swinging in the wrong direction, so to speak. This evening, one of the attorneys who's been involved in living with this from day one is here, Sean Coffey. I'm going to ask him to come to the podium. I do want you to know as he's coming up that the Waterfront Advisory Commission has spent 2 meetings on this deal. We were there for a good hour or more with the attorneys and the mediator at an earlier meeting. As a result of that meeting, there were changes made to the language of the settlement agreement, positive changes that had a benefit to the town of South Kingstown. Their memo to you advises they are supporting it and recommending that you go forward with the settlement, as is my office. But anyhow, if I can introduce Sean Coffey, who can go through that little schematic up there a bit, just to fully understand what's happening.
I'd be glad to. Again, my name is Sean Coffey. I'm an attorney based in Providence with the firm of Burns & Levinson. I've been involved in this matter since roughly 2009, but it dates back originally to the end of 2007 when the Roebucks, who are the property owners to the north of those lines, filed an application with the Coastal Resources Council to extend their outermost finger on that dock. And you can see it in, I think, a light aqua lines, or what shows essentially the existing facility. And then the extension would be that final piece in the dark-colored lines. Now, they did that based on littoral lines that were drawn essentially as an extension of Periwinkle Road. And around about this time, and I know I'm getting into some legal mumbo-jumbo, but the Coastal Resources Management Council adopted a guidance provision. And it works in 90+%, probably well over 95% of the circumstances. When somebody wants to build a dock from their property out into the water, They're to identify what the boundaries are in the water. And not everybody wants to go through the expense of hiring a surveyor or an engineer to determine what that is. So the simple default was to just suggest that they extend the property lines out further. Well, because of the way Periwinkle Road comes down to the water, it almost seems like the bottom of an S that gets cut off. And that will that swings the lines very dramatically to the south. There's an earlier plan that I provided. If you could put that up, I'll show you what the impact was on existing conditions. I think you have that there. Yep. We'll start with this one. Oh, no, must be the other one. Sorry. Oh, that. No, I saw another one when you flipped through it. That's the one. All right, we'll stick with this one. In any event, it actually ended up, you'll see the extension, the dash line on the south as it runs through the water. That you can see cuts through a yellow, what appears to be a very lightly shaded yellow existing dock. That dock has been there in excess of 40 years. But because of the guidance that was developed by Coastal Resources Management Council, that resulted in the boundary line, if you will, for the water, cutting through an existing dock that had been there for some 40-plus years. So that's one of the issues. We took the position that the proper littoral line in this particular case was actually a perpendicular line drawn from the boundary point on the land out to the channel in Point Judith Pond. And you can see to the right, it's labeled in that mix of purple lettering, but you'll see the boundary that line, now the line we draw in the dashed line on the north is actually what that littoral line would look like if we determined, or a court determined, that was the proper in-water littoral boundary. And what it essentially would have done would have eliminated any real chance for the Roebucks, who own the property to the north, to extend their dock in any distance. It would have cut off. It ends pretty much within 10 feet of the end of their existing dock. So the settlement looked for a way to come up with something in the middle that would allow both of the littoral property owners to obtain full enjoyment of their property and the waters adjacent to their property, and in the Roebucks case, construct a dock that now is estimated to be some 71 feet in length, that dock extension, and also allow Mr. and Mrs. Mazza, Frank Mazza and his wife are here this evening, along with Warren Hall, the surveyor who's involved, would allow him to develop a marina in-water facilities to the south. He now owns the two marina facilities located immediately to the south of Periwinkle Road and also the one to the south of that. This shows the upland development. A lot of it is parking spaces, but he's working on a design now with Mr. Hall that would develop the interior portion as well below that. What these lines allow for the two property owners is that while we'll adhere to and obviously respect the town's littoral waters within that 40-foot wide extension of Periwinkle Road, we'll be able to build up to those littoral lines, and that allows the proper fairway widths within the marina. It also allows, again, the Roebucks to obtain at least 71 feet for the extension of their dock. Took quite a while to get here. Thankfully, former Chief Justice Williams, former Town Solicitor Williams, was a great deal of help working with both parties over an extended period of time. I have to thank your solicitor, Mr. Osillo, for stepping in, too. It's gone on for quite some period of time, again, in terms of these discussions. But we think we've come up with a resolution that should work. This is currently before Judge Taft-Carter in the Superior Court. She's scheduled this tentatively for trial very soon if we don't come up with a settlement. This seems to be the best way rather than going through the zero-sum game which litigation often results in. It's always a party who loses, always a party who feels they haven't won enough. It's kind of mad, mutually assured dissatisfaction. So on that basis, I think we would urge the council to approve this. Mr. Mazza is proposing 4 public parking spaces. This would be incorporated into the CRMC-approved public access plan as well. But if you look into the parking just below the lane, there's a darkly colored parking space. That's one of the 4. So you'd start just above that. There are 2 above it, 1 below it. The darkly colored one is the handicap parking space. So you'd have a total of 4 parking spaces, including 1 for handicap parking, and access to the shore from there. We'd be glad, and again, Mr. Mazza is here along with Mr. Hall. They'd be glad to answer any specific questions you may have.
Any questions from?
Is the one of the marinas Point View? Is that?
This point,
Okay, I just wanted to get an idea of where it was located.
Any other questions? Well, I think this is a great win-win situation for everybody involved. So
win-win-win. There's
congratulations on not having to go to trial. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve item 12D.
Second.
So moved. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you all very much. We'll, just for note, we'll continue to work with the solicitor and your town manager with respect to the documentation. We're also discussing the matter resolution of an outstanding appeal with the CRMC. Those discussions are ongoing. Hopefully we'll.
And that doesn't involve the
It
town.
doesn't involve you
Doesn't
directly.
involve the town, so.
It's kind of the last piece to the puzzle.
Are those 4 spots going to be marked with some type of?
Yes.
Okay.
And again, we'll work with the town on how, if there's any particular markings you'd like, we'll work with you.
Okay.
The Waterfront Advisory Commission has ideas on how they should be marked.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, 12E is a resolution authorizing an award of bid to System Works of Butterfly Lane in Lunenburg, Massachusetts, for public safety scheduling software in an amount not to exceed $21,900, including a $1,000 contingency, further described in a memo from the Chief of Police to the Town Manager dated September 18th. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve item 12D.
It's E.
D-E. E.
So moved. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. 12F is a resolution authorizing an award of bid to RBG Incorporated of Raymond, New Hampshire for a 2020 Ford F550 truck with Duralift DTA X45 body in an amount not to exceed $140,717, further described in a memo from the Public Services Director to the Town Manager.
Motion that we approve item 12F.
Second.
So moved. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. 12G is a resolution authorizing the town manager to execute National Grid Energy Initiative applications for LED lighting retrofit projects at the Town Hall, Public Works Garage, and Public Safety Complex, using the National Grid on-bill repayment option, further described in a memo from the facilities superintendent to the town manager dated September 18th.
And I'll make a motion that we approve item 12G.
Second?
So moved. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And that motion carries as well. That brings us to the end of tonight's public agenda. We do have a closed executive session, and we'll need a motion to go into that.
I'll make a motion to move into closed executive session pursuant to RIGL 42-46-5 to discuss matters pertaining to security, including but not limited to the deployment of security personnel or devices.
Second.
So moved. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. Thank you all for coming tonight. We will see you next time.